convoy, everyone was on tenterhooks and desperately trying to hide their fear. There was an area of sea that didn't have air cover and was particularly dangerous as it was where U-boats would lay in wait. As they entered that area, the person on watch screamed, "Torpedoes!" The alarms were sounded and all hell broke loose. As the men rushed to the bridge to see where the torpedoes were coming from, the man who saw them pointed at a school of porpoises. With binoculars in hand, the men scanned the horizon, but there was no torpedoes to be seen. What had happened was the man's imagination had seen torpedoes that weren't there. His heightened state of fear made the imaginary torpedoes even more vivid. Not long afterwards, the same happened again with another person on watch, and it kept happening with different people. As said earlier, the men were very experienced sailors and knew the sea. Even so, their fear and imagination overrided what they were actually seeing. The elderly veteran who told me this said that fear plays tricks with the mind. We can imagine almost anything, and to us it will be real. Later in life, what that man said made me realise why governments keep us in fear. It also made me realise that belief in a fantasy that's put out by governments can often be more powerful than weapons, as wars are fought and won in the hearts and minds of people. Now, I'm not saying that people are imagining UFOs because there's photographs of them, there's films and all kinds of things. What I'm saying is that governments use UFOs and fear, not necessarily fear of UFOs, but they use fear to control us. Now, rather like today, before World War I, there was no shortage of science fiction. There were magazines depicting a not too distant future where British dreadnoughts, that was a battleship of those days, would be able to fly in the sky. And we would have machines that could tunnel to the centre of the earth. All fantastic, and I believe used by the Secret Service to give people the impression that British forces had advanced weapons that the public were not told about. Just before World War I, rumours were spread that someone who knew someone else that was working in Britain's top secret establishment said he was working on a wonder weapon, centuries ahead of anything the Germans had. To back this up, newspapers were awash with stories of German spies infiltrating in order to steal blueprints of Britain's state-of-the-art weaponry. British weaponry was so advanced a war could only last a matter of weeks or months. It would be more like a holiday for the troops as it would be a walkover. Some people were even saying they had seen the dreadnoughts, or battleships as they were known, in the sky. As rumours spread, they became more and more outrageous, but people believed them. And the source of these rumours I strongly believe to be the Secret Services. Now, can you see a similarity with what's happening today? Now, the reason I believe that the Secret Services were playing those tricks is what I discovered in the 1970s, but I will cover that a little later. Now, not only did the Secret Services want people to believe the rumours, most importantly, they wanted the Germans to believe the rumours as well. The official response was exactly the same as today, neither denial nor acknowledgement. Also, similar to today, instead of being labelled a conspiracy theorist, anyone that questioned the official government propaganda was referred to as a fifth columnist and treated with suspicion that they may be a German spy. Again, can you see the similarity with today? Anybody that speaks about this ridiculous terrorism garbage, which anybody with an ounce of intelligence realises it's internal security forces, and people like Mossad and MI6 and CIA that are carrying this out, because the films are so ridiculous that you'd have to be a complete idiot to believe them. And remember, if you speak out against them, you're with the enemy. Could you have been radicalised? I'm worried my land might be radicalised. Anyway, we all know the outcome of World War One, but did we see any fantastic technology such as flying battleships and super-fast aircraft fired from a huge gun? No. But the rumours continued throughout the war that troops had seen British super-advanced weaponry. But with all rumours, there was no evidence. In reality, the troops were using weaponry that was made from old cocoa tins, and were lobbing hand grenades using a simple catapult, and relying upon men in balloons to see where the enemy were, which is not exactly high-tech, eh? But it doesn't end there. Come World War II, the government disinformation department became even more efficient. Nowadays, we are supposed to have insiders witnessing back-engineered UFOs. Prior to World War II, we had insiders witnessing super death rays and all manner of super weaponry. Before the war, my father was very well read because he had to read to his totally blind father, and he read the newspapers to him. And he realised the public were being told a complete pack of lies most of the time. My dad was years ahead of his time. When conscripted into the forces, he discovered a minority could also see through the propaganda, but had to keep quiet, as the term fifth columnist had now evolved into being labelled a defeatist. In the days leading up to World War II, a rumour appeared to be of government origin, stated that British defences were so extensive enemy bombers could be wiped from the sky before they could get anywhere near Britain. In fact, somebody knew somebody else who knew somebody else who was working on a project that was digging and making they were actually putting death rays along the coastline. But don't tell anybody, you know, it's a secret. Anyway, anyone that questioned that rumour was jeered at and made to look stupid. They were a defeatist. Snobby people who read the Times or the equivalent The Guardian would take it as a known fact that due to our defence system, enemy aircraft would simply fall out of the sky before getting anywhere near Britain. Anyone that thinks enemy bombers could reach these shores is totally mad and completely bonkers defeatist. In fact, British air defences are so good, RAF fighters won't be necessary. Again, the facts speak for itself. Did we see the rumoured super high-tech weaponry during World War II? Nope. When first conscripted into the forces, my dad was issued with an antiquated First World War uniform with brass buttons, and identical to the First World War, they also had weaponry made from cocoa tins. Not for training, that was the first line of defence. They were also told British weaponry was far superior to German weapons, and Germans were all evil atheists that worshipped Hitler, and we were kind, God-loving country and jolly good chaps. Those lies soon disappeared when Dad's unit first encountered the Germans in battle. First of all, German belts had printed on them got mittens. Sorry if you're German, I'll pronounce that wrong, or got mittens, which is God be with us. So much for being evil atheists. They also saw German weaponry that was far superior to anything Britain had, and their uniforms were of much better quality. So there we have it. Both world wars were fought on bluff, of which many of the lies are still believed today. But again, that's another story. Now, what I believe, as I've said before, is that UFOs are being used as a form of propaganda, as if the government knows something that we don't know.